Ebony, a troubled woman struggling with alcoholism and a history of abusive behavior, moves into a rundown house in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with her children, Nate, Shante, Andre, and her mother, Alberta, who is battling cancer. Stressed by financial problems, Ebony often argues with her mother and harshly punishes her kids when she feels they are being disrespectful. One day, while cleaning Nate's room, Ebony finds a hidden bottle of alcohol and some money in his closet. When Nate comes home from school, he explains that he doesn't plan to drink the alcohol, having seen the harm it causes her. Ebony also notices bruises on his face, and Shante reveals that local boys are bullying them. Angry, Ebony confronts the boys, kicks one of them, and threatens that if they harm her children again, there will be serious consequences. Meanwhile, Alberta prepares for her hospital checkup. At the hospital, she discovers that Ebony covers her medical bills. When she gets home, she talks to Ebony about it, and their conversation helps them reconnect and strengthens their bond. Later that night, Andre hears a noise downstairs and goes to check it out. He finds some milk in the fridge and drinks it quickly, as if he can't control himself. Afterward, he steps outside and sees a dead bird on the ground that has crashed into the window. The next morning, Andre is in the backyard talking to someone. His mother catches him and tells him to stop talking to himself. That night, while Ebony is sleeping, she suddenly wakes up after seeing a man in her room. Panicked, she grabs a bat and goes downstairs to investigate. She discovers the basement door open and is hit with a terrible smell from below, which makes her vomit. At that moment, Nate appears and confronts her about the money she took from the closet. He reveals that he's been saving money with his father to leave her. When Ebony refuses to return the money, Nate shoves her, causing her to fall. Andre rushes in to help, but trips over the bat and falls hard, while Nate storms out of the kitchen. Later, Alberta returns the money to Nate and tells him he's a good boy and that she doesn't want him to leave. The next day, a man arrives to inspect the basement and finds a dead cat. After removing the body, he demands $60, which Ebony doesn't have. Nate manages to get the money and pays the man. Frustrated, Ebony tells him to eat that shit with soy sauce when he gets home. As the janitor leaves, Cynthia, a social worker, arrives to check on the children. She notices bruises on Andre's face and asks about them, but no one knows how he got them. After inspecting the house, Cynthia leaves. As she drives away, the family sees another woman in a car watching them and suspects she might be with Cynthia. Ebony then throws a birthday party for Shante. During the party, she finds Andre acting strangely, banging his head against the cellar door in a trance-like state. Andre tells her he's been talking to an invisible presence named Trey, who supposedly lives in a hole downstairs and whispers disturbing things to him from the bedroom closet. At the party, Ebony drinks enough alcohol to make an elephant pass out and dances with an unknown man like a bar dancer, which upsets Alberta and Ebony's friends. When the party is over, Ebony angrily enters her children's room. Alberta is drawn to startling noises coming from Andre's bedroom and finds the room in total chaos, with the three children cowering and claiming that Ebony threw them against the wall. The next day, Alberta drops the kids off at school, and Ebony examines the cracks in the wall, becoming curious about how they could have been caused. Back at school, the kids start to act differently. Nate laughs when his teacher tells a story about her deceased brother. Andre defecates in front of his classmates, flings it at his teacher, and eats his feces. Shante starts menstruating at a choir rehearsal. The children are all taken to the hospital for checkups, but the tests reveal nothing wrong. Ebony confronts the doctor, especially alarmed because one of her children ate his own feces. When Ebony becomes overly aggressive, the doctor asks about the bruises on the children, which makes Ebony fall silent. Outside, Alberta tells her to calm down, and Ebony reminds Alberta of the abuse she endured when she was younger. Back home, Ebony discovers Nate trying to drown Andre in the bathtub. She struggles to stop Nate and calls Alberta for help. When Alberta arrives, Nate claims he doesn't remember what happened, and Andre is looking at them like nothing has happened. The next day, Cynthia returns to the house. Ebony tells her that the children are hearing things and that she believes the house is making them sick. Cynthia insists on seeing the kids, but Alberta threatens her with a baseball bat, forcing Cynthia to leave. As Cynthia departs, Bernice is seen outside the house again, and Alberta tells her not to come back. Alberta then seeks help from her church's pastor regarding the evil she believes is haunting the house. The pastor informs her that the church does not handle such matters and turns her away. Meanwhile, as Ebony leaves the bar, she is confronted by Bernice. Bernice tells her that her children are suffering because of an evil spirit in the house. Identifying herself as an apostle in Jesus' name, Bernice explains that she wants to verify her suspicions before meeting Ebony in person. She hands Ebony a photo of a family that lived in the same house 20 years ago. Bernice says that the family belonged to her church and had a son who was possessed by a demon associated with Lucifer. The family sought Bernice's help for a deliverance, a type of exorcism calling on Jesus to banish the demon, but Bernice was unable to succeed and lost the boy. The mother then became possessed, beheading her husband with an axe, strangling her daughter, and hanging herself. Bernice reveals that the demon's name is Trey and that it is now manipulating Andre. She explains that the demon first befriends its host and then uses them to link with other family members, leading them to tragic ends. Ebony refuses to believe Bernice's story and tells her to stay away from her family. Back at home, Alberta hears a noise downstairs and decides to check it out. She encounters a terrible smell and, holding a Bible, is attacked by a shadowy figure that looks like Andre. The figure chokes her to death. When Ebony returns home, she finds a burning crucifix and her mother dead on the floor. The police come to process the crime scene, with Cynthia leading the investigation. Ebony flees with Andre, Nate, and Shante, and when she notices Andre's eyes turning black in the back seat, she rushes into a nearby diner for help. The diner patrons try to assist her children, but Ebony ends up receiving a psychiatric evaluation while her children are placed into foster care. After she's released, Ebony goes back to Bernice for help. Bernice advises her to believe and reassures her that she is loved. Meanwhile, Cynthia witnesses Andre going into shock. She goes to check on him in the ward, where Andre taunts her with the name of her deceased son, breaks free from his restraints, and crawls up a wall backward like Spider-Man, leaving Cynthia in shock. Ebony disguises herself as a nurse and sneaks Andre out of Churchill Behavioral Health Center, with Bernice driving the getaway car. They return to the house, where Bernice starts the deliverance ritual. She throws holy water on Andre, causing the demon inside him to take on the terrifying form of a mutated Alberta. The demon then taunts Bernice and Ebony with vulgar comments.
I can smell your nappy pussy.
Meanwhile, Nate and Shante are also experiencing their own possessions in their separate group homerooms. As Bernice continues the ritual to banish the demon starts laughing and causes an earthquake that disrupts the process. Bernice tells Ebony to close the door and go upstairs for safety. The demon reverts to Andre and mocks Bernice, reminding her of the boy she failed to save. This weakens Bernice's resolve. The demon grabs her by the neck and throws her against the wall. It then drags her by the hair and slams her into the closet, inflicting severe injuries. The demon makes her float before dropping her to the ground, ending her life. Ebony comes downstairs and sees her son Andre sitting next to Bernice. As she approaches, Andre vanishes into the basement. Bernice, barely alive, tells Ebony to keep strong faith and save her family. Ebony goes into the basement and finds Andre. She throws holy water on him, but instead of stopping him, it makes him angrier. The demon then grabs Ebony and takes her form. It picks her up and throws her to the ground, then grabs her head and slams it on the floor repeatedly. The demon twists her body like a sponge, breaking her bones. Finally, it starts choking her by pressing its foot on her neck. As Ebony is on the brink of death, she remembers the happy times with her family, and a light begins to shine around her. Thinking it's over, the demon starts to walk away, but Ebony confronts it, demanding her children back. She begins performing a ritual, causing the demon to start burning. The demon begs her to stop, but Ebony keeps going, speaking in an unknown language that makes the demon's body burn more intensely. The demon crawls back into the hole, leading to hell. Soon after, all of Ebony's children return to normal. When Ebony wakes up, she finds Andre unconscious but alive. Now a believer, Cynthia promises to help Ebony get her children back. Ebony gives Cynthia a cross pendant, saying that God can help her just as he helped Ebony. 6 months later, Ebony is reunited with her children. On their drive back to Philadelphia, Ebony shares with her kids that she plans to reconcile with their father, making them excited for the future. If you like this video, check out the next one for more.